Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone. I want to share some beautiful experiences and so strange that I had today. When I got up this morning, I was into the good mood, and a little later this morning, I felt that I should listen to the mass that was going on all the way from the Holy Family Basilica, Nairobi. And I started listening to the mass. I went on, and the mass was going on, and it reached to a point whereby when the Archbishop of Nairobi, who is actually a cardinal, his name is John Jewel, into his preaching, I felt some sort of, that the Spirit of God was in communication with me. There was a message that was going through in my mind. And I remember, especially when he was mentioning the issue of those persons who are not able to participate in the Mass because of their age, the children and the elderly. And I could feel their hunger for them wanting to worship God in His holy house. Somehow I felt tears coming into my eyes. But then, of course, I had to control that. I don't know why all this was happening. I spent my day and I started doing my studies. I continued with my studies. Later on, afterwards, when it was about late, middle evening or middle afternoon, I saw one of these WhatsApp status of one of my friends. And I mean, we last chat when this friend of mine had a road accident. Since then, we never really chat again. And when I saw the moods that was expressed on the WhatsApp status, I decided to somehow inbox and ask what was going on. Only to find that my friend is actually in a rehabilitation center, because in her plans, she was into the depths of her depression, and my friend was actually planning to have suicide. And, she narrates to me the story of what happened, that when she was actually to take the pills, overdose herself, her two brothers kept roaming in the house. They couldn't go out. And when she was trying to set them out, they really refused to go out. And they noticed, I think, somehow something was wrong with their sister. And they started crying. And it was through them that she came back to life. It was through them that she didn't take this last action, which was to take her life. She narrates to me that she has not been talking to her parents or anybody else. She never wanted to talk to anybody else about her situation. But she has been, she has been undergoing through this tension for a time. And she finds herself unworthy to exist. She don't find meaning in life. And all she wants is to die. Here I am to preserve her identity, As you know, confidentiality, I cannot mention the name and so forth. But I'm asking you to continue praying for such people who are in great struggles. Somehow she has good parents, and especially her father, who has been part of her life, who continue to encourage her, At the moment she says she don't even have friends allowed and so forth. And she's receiving good counseling from wherever she has been taken. And she says, by the name of God, that she's not for death. She has overcome death and she's against death at this moment. And she's able to speak life for herself. Praise God. This is how God does. He comes at the moment that you least expect of Him. He comes at the moment that you least think of Him. And then I was able to see one of the ministers in Kenya this morning somehow when I was going through my Twitter, where he met this lady who was selling, somehow some little food on the roadside. These are hustlers. It's a poor woman. And this guy was caught. Somehow he was moved to reach out to this lady, and he is shown entering into his wallet, getting some little money, and giving to this lady, somehow to empower her. She was actually in the sunshine where the rain can fall on her. And somehow I believe through the empowerment, she somehow can build a shelter where she can, improve her job or her hustling action. This also moved me, this also moved me. Maybe in 1 hour later, someone did text me from UK. And I was wondering, who is this speaking to me? Because I'm accustomed that there are brothers, about 6 brothers, who speak to me, who talk to me, who text me. And since they all share one phone, they all use one contact. Sometimes I am not fully able to identify who is who, even though I am accustomed and I'm kind of now familiar to who is texting me. But I somehow found the text a bit strange this evening. And since they do welcome strangers in their home now and then, I was actually thinking maybe it is one of their cousins who have visited. But to my amazement, this guy, who is about 20 years of age, started crying out of hunger. And I was like, what is it that someone from UK could cry of hunger? Is there poor people of such a kind in the United Kingdom? I was in doubt, because this guy kept repeating that he was hungry. He was hungry. And later on, I found that the phone that he was texting me through, it is from this family that I'm friendly to. It wasn't his own phone. So he said to me that this phone, I found it on the roadside, dropped. That's why I picked it up. And so this phone that I'm now using, it isn't mine, but it is a very expensive phone. And there I realized, oh, really? I noticed it is phone for my friend's family. Luckily, I have other contacts for them. So one of their younger brothers contacted me and said to me, their phone has gotten lost and so forth. And then at the same time, one of their brothers, their second born, had called this guy to inform him that the phone he has belongs to them and he needs to return them, or otherwise it will be reported to the police. And they had already tracked him because they have all sort of technology. So I started talking to the younger brother now, who kept informing me. He gave me the contacts where this guy should bring the phone. And this guy was telling me how he's living into a poor condition, like in a cave that you can get from a carved tree, a big tree where you can get a cave, some sort of that. And then he showed me the house he was living in. It is like a little shack of iron sheet and so forth. He narrated to me his family background, and I was somehow, into a disbelief, how his mother is a drunkard and his dad is into, what do I say, into multiple marriages with many wives and so forth, about 4 women. They have a large family now, and nobody is into anyone's business. Basically, he's worried because he has been out of his house for 4 years. And since then, nobody has ever called him back. He has parents, his brother deleted his contacts and blocked him and so forth, And all these things is happening because of poverty, of course, falling into addictions of some sort of a kind, And I was thinking, is this really true? Is this guy trying to trick me, or what is what, And he kept saying he's hungry. So I end up connecting him to this family whom the phone belongs to. And so I started talking to this young brother, telling him about him. And he started thinking, oh, this might be a thief and so forth. I said to him, no, it's not a thief. It's not a thief. He seems to be a very humble young man. He seems to be honest, and he seems to be truthful, and depending on what he was talking to me, I could realize that he has truths in him. And so they drove away their car. It was midnight and went to meet this guy. Somehow the guy came closer to wherever they could find him because they were tracking him. And his phone was already hacked out. So they went, and luckily the person who went over is the older brother, who is very generous to many strangers that he has helped along. And he went and picked up this guy. He didn't leave him there. He congratulated him for his kindness, keeping their phone safe, and he brought him home. Surprisingly, he kept asking for food for about 30 times, really asking for food, And so they decided not to let him bathe, even though there is a fear for COVID-19 first, not to let him bathe, but to give him some sort of liquid food so that he can take a shower. As you know, a hungry person really needs some sort of, because he has not been eating for a few days. He's saying actually from Thursday, he has been surviving on black tea and maybe some little sort of bread, I think he did say. And he said to me, I think it was yesterday, he did beg of someone food, and they gave him a slap just because he asked for food. In fact, when I mentioned to him that the guys was on their way going to get phone. He said to me, do they have food? That was his question. Do they have food for me? I said to him, I am not so sure if they have food for you, but all I know is that you can tell them to return back tomorrow to bring you food, or you can take them to the place where you live, because somehow if you take them where you live, their hearts might be moved. All along I was thinking, okay, there is truth in this whole story because it's a long story. For the sake of confidence, I cannot tell some of the stuff, but I was thinking, I was in halves. Is it true or is it a lie? And I think it is very important that we learn to listen to the poor people. It is good we learn to listen, and when we listen, to listen attentively and to reason attentively, to reason wisely and to listen with God. I believe now that this young man who actually had studied, he's a bright, brilliant guy. He said to me he reached university. He had joined university, but he had to drop, because of the consequences back home, and now with this COVID-19, and he had gotten a job, and he couldn't continue with the job. He was stopped. He was sucked out of his job. And at the same time now, when he's looking for an opportunity to get a job, he cannot be employed because he has to show a test of COVID-19. And that test alone requires that you have to have 400 US. That's not simple. To the worst of it, he's a black man. So there is no opportunity for him to get a job easily. This is how black people continue to suffer. But this tells me that we black people need to unite together. We need to treat each other like human beings. We cannot be mistreated and then we mistreat each other. There is a need for black people to unite wherever you are in this world. Unite. Consider your brothers as your brothers. Consider your sisters as your sisters. This is very, very important. Even though they might not be of your category, even though you might see them as unimportant persons. And as one of my friends posted today, everyone that breathes is a human being. Let us respect other human beings. We might not have a place for them in our hearts, but they deserve respect because they are human beings. They are human beings. I repeat again, they are human beings. Black people are human beings. They need and they deserve to be respected by everyone. And not only for black people. Since I'm speaking of love, this pertains to everyone. Everyone that has a heart, everyone that is created in the image and likeness of God deserves respect. He or she deserves respect. This is mandatory, and it is not only from me, it is from God, who indeed loves and loved the entire world. There are people who are suffering out there. There are people who are going hungry. There are people who are stressed. And especially in these times of COVID-19, we need to think of them in a special way. This is not a time to be jealous. This is not a time to be envious to the souls that are suffering. This is a time to reach out to them. This is a time that we can show them that we have a place for them in our hearts. consider someone who is hungry out there. Let us not take them for granted. This young man was shivering when he came to this home. This I'm talking of reality and a fact of how the younger brother was telling me that this young man needs medication. He is shivering, and his elder brother had to show and to train their second brother on how to feed a hungry person who has not eaten for days. That you don't just give them food immediately. And I have seen in my own experience when I used to serve with the missionaries, I have seen persons who came and when they were taken to shower, they just died after that. I have witnessed this. It has happened in my own sight. And so I know how a hungry person feels. I know the consequence of a hungry person. I have experienced, so I know how people feel. So my dear brothers and sisters, this was my day. I don't know what awaits tomorrow, but I expect that God is going to do great wonders. This young man said to me that in case he get a job, he's willing to help and to reach out to his mother. You can see the good intention in the heart of this young man who is only 20 years old. Let us have a great honor for our parents, whoever they might be. As God works for you, remember back home. Remember your parents. Remember to help others. Remember to reach out to other people. May God bless you. Continue to inspire us, to inspire me and you, so that we continue to be inspirers of each other. The moment that you feel the story needs to be listened and to inspire the people, spread it, share it. It's just free. May God bless you, keep you safe.